All right, so we are looking at stocks. So first of all, let's remind ourselves, what is a stock? What were we trading? Ownership in the company. So in our case, we were looking at ownership of the Mighty Wings Corporation. Yes, it was a made-up corporation. Okay, so there are two types of stocks. Okay, there are two types of stocks. The first type of stock is what we call common stock. Common stock is, as it sounds, the most common type of stock. And most stocks are common stock. Common stock is going to be where you actually get to vote for the board of directors with each share that you own. What are the board of directors? What's the importance of a board of directors with a corporation? What do they do?
Regulate who has stock in their company.
They don't regulate things. They make decisions. The board of directors are the ones that actually decide on how the company is going to be run. Remember when we talked about corporations and we said that the owners of a corporation don't have a lot of say in the day-to-day running of the business? That's because if you're the owner of the corporation, you're a stockholder, okay? The board of directors are the ones that are actually going to decide on what actually happens in the company, okay? So even though I have McDonald's stock, for example, I cannot decide if they're going to bring back the McRib, for example, okay? The board of directors decides those things, okay? So I literally, if I own common stock, I will literally get a vote by proxy. I will get a ballot in the mail that allows me to vote for the board of directors, okay? Now the downside of that, however, is that I get to vote for the board of directors. So I get this ballot in the mail. It has all these people's name on it. It's usually like 10 people, and I've literally gotten a by proxy vote for. I look at this list and I say, awesome. I know none of these people on this list. Don't know anything about them. Don't know anything about what they need to be able to run McDonald's. I don't know which ones, is going to be a good board of directors. So what do you suppose not saying everybody, but what do you suppose I do with my vote by proxy when I get it in the mail? Recycle. I don't do it. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. I don't know anything about these board of directors. And so you could vote. I also get invited to the company's in the shareholders meeting. They always have to have an annual shareholders meeting. It's usually at their corporation's headquarters. You get invited to go. You have to pay your way, but you get to also listen to the company about all of their costs and profit margins and all of that fun stuff. But it's a privilege as being owner of the company. Okay, so common stockholders get to vote, but they get to vote for the board of directors, and they do get dividends. What's dividend again?
Portion of the profits.
Portion of the profits, the company's profits that they will share. Now, the other type of stock is what we call preferred stock. And preferred stock will get their dividends before common stockholders. Okay? So what happens is that when the company decides, okay, this is the amount that we have to pay out in dividends, they will start with the preferred stockholders, and they will pay them dividends first. And if they have any money left over, common stockholders get it. Okay? Preferred stockholders don't get to vote. Now, does a company have to pay dividends? No, they do not have to pay dividends. But you can kind of think of it as a nice extra sugar coating on top. So think about those shares of Mighty Wings that you traded. Okay, every time you had a gain, that was because the stock price went up. Okay, but if you had dividends, that's kind of like having an extra $1 every time you bought a share of Mighty Wings. Okay, that's going to be a dividend. Now, they are nice to have extra on top, but they're not required. The other thing to know about dividends is that it is helpful from the standpoint of knowing that the company is actually successful. Okay, so for example, anybody ever hear of a company called Enron? Have you ever heard of Enron before? No? Oh, moving further away from it. Enron was a huge company that a lot of people invested in, and there was a big scandal a number of years ago because Enron was cooking the books. They were actually telling people that they were making money, and they weren't. They were actually embezzling money, and they had no money left. But people were investing in them all the time. They were buying their stock, okay? But they never, ever paid a dividend, okay? You can think of a dividend as show me the money. This is literally having to pay out some of your profits. That's proving to the people that you actually did make a profit, okay? So dividends are good from two standpoints. You get extra money and it actually proves they're an honest company. They're actually making money. This is actually what a stock certificate looks like. When you buy a stock today, do you get anything? Do you get a slip of paper? Nah, not even really that. It's like in an account, in a computer somewhere, says, I have 10 shares of Microsoft. Woohoo! I don't get this anymore. You don't get stock certificates. They're actually so rare now that if you actually come across a stock certificate now, it actually has value by itself just because it's so rare. Okay? So if you come across a stock certificate in your grandmother's house someplace, save it just because it's rare. All right. So stock exchanges. Stock exchanges that's basically what we did. You can think of a stock exchange as like a store to buy stock. Okay? It's like the Walmart of stocks. There's a stock exchange. You can buy a variety of different companies. So stock exchanges where stocks are actually bought and sold. So can anybody tell me the name of a specific stock exchange in the United States? I bet you can think of one. What? That's not the name of a stock exchange. It's the name of the street where one is located.
New York Stock Exchange.
There you go. The New York Stock Exchange, the NYSE. The New York Stock Exchange is the oldest and most prestigious stock exchange in the United States. Emphasizing the United States part. The New York Stock Exchange was originally started by a bunch of guys that decided that they were investing in companies by themselves, but they were getting swindled. Okay? There were times where people would go and before the New York Stock Exchange, they would go and buy part of a company that didn't exist, or they weren't actually making anything. And the person that they went and gave their money to ran off and ran away with their money, and it wasn't actually a legit business. And so the people that started the New York Stock Exchange says, okay, look, we got to have some requirements here. Okay, so they actually came up with stringent requirements to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange. They have to be a very prestigious company. They have to be in business for so long. They have to have so many years of profits before they can actually be listed on the exchange. Okay? And once you're on the exchange, you can be booted off if you do not follow their requirements. Okay? So the New York Stock Exchange is the oldest. There used to be an American exchange that started around the time of the Civil War that was for companies that were kind of smaller, that didn't meet all of the requirements of the New York Stock Exchange, but they were still really good companies. And the American Exchange existed up until a few years ago, and the New York Stock Exchange bought them out. Another exchange is NASDAQ. NASDAQ is the electronic exchange. It was started in the 1970s. It was started in the 1970s, and these were for smaller companies. Oftentimes they were tech companies. And these companies were the ones that, excuse me, they didn't fit in with the New York Stock Exchange, and so they started NASDAQ. NASDAQ stands for the National Associated Securities Dealers Automated Quotation. It took me a very long time to remember that. National Associated Securities Dealers Automated Quotation. Okay, so they're both located in New York City, but only one of them is still a physical trading floor. This is what the New York Stock Exchange looks like today. This is the outside of the building. It is located on the corner of Wall and Broad in Manhattan. Anybody ever been by the New York Stock Exchange? Yes? Did you go by the bowl?
No, we just have walked past.
The New York Stock Exchange, you used to be able to go inside and tour it. They don't allow tours anymore since 9/11. You kind of have to be part of a specific group, and you have to know somebody to be able to get in. I was actually lucky enough to go in 2007. I was part of a teacher's workshop that was there for about a week. It was awesome. We got to talk to several different people that were involved in the exchange. We actually got to go on the trading floor, which, by the way, that's a picture of the trading floor. Okay. NASDAQ, on the other hand, like I said, is electronic. It is also located in New York. I've never been to NASDAQ, but this is kind of a general picture of what NASDAQ looks like. It's giant computers, basically. And so NASDAQ will go faster than the New York Stock Exchange. It used to be a lot faster because NASDAQ would take a computer and it would just match up all the buyers and sellers. And so it would just automatically match them up, and you didn't have to worry about people haggling, okay? Now, the New York Stock Exchange actually kind of has a hybrid solution, so they still have some of the haggling that we did, but they also have computers matching things up. So it's kind of a combination of both worlds.